Okay, we're back at the Lincoln Day dinner with another guest, Senator Grothman, who is in the belly of the beast over at the protesters. And Senator Grothman, can you tell us what's been going on there? I know that the offices have been on lockdown, and what can you say as far as the protesters have gone on? What's been going on?
They were a little better today on Saturday, but to be honest, on Wednesday and Thursday, things were really raucous in the Capitol. Senators and their staff were being jostled around, even Democratic senators. People not being very well behaved. It's kind of an interesting contrast in that a while back the Tea Party came through, and the janitors were very complimentary. They were surprised you could have so many people in the building and make so little of a mess. What a great job they did picking up after themselves. But when the union types came through, the school teachers types came through, real slobs and very poorly behaved. I sure hope the Tea Party is more the future of America than the type of union types who were in the building this week.
I see.
The thing that was disappointing to me was that some of these teachers brought along students. And I think one of the problems we're going to have in America down the road is what the youth are going to be like, because that's our future.
Right.
And if you have these sort of people being role models for our children, our country doesn't stand a chance.
That's right.
To a certain extent, I felt the same way being on the Joint Finance Committee, where earlier this week we had a 16-hour public hearing, the longest public hearing I've attended in my 17 years in the state legislature. And again, one of the things that I couldn't help hearing was the hard left-wing bias views from either teachers or teaching assistants from the UW system. I mean, of course, they're wrong on the issue.
Right.
I mean, our state is broke. But in addition to being wrong on the issue, some of the things that they said, I wonder if they say these things in their classrooms. And I really think, I'm not sure exactly how we're going to handle it, but I do believe it's important for the populace to wake up. We cannot have such left-wing extremism being pounded into our younger generation from the time they're in middle school and high school all the way through college. I mean, a lot of people grow out of it, but some people are never growing out of it. And it did hit me that conservatives have made a mistake by ceding control of our K-12 education system and our universities to the left. Because like it or not, you know, a lot of us went through college and we just look back and say, oh, there's just a bunch of goofy professors or goofy teachers.
Right.
But some of these kids are going to respect these teachers and professors, and then we've got problems.
Absolutely. And the protesters are university students, aren't they? Students from the university?
Students, but also professor types and teaching assistant types.
Right.
There were a lot of them there, and that's a problem. I do think whenever you have a protest in Madison, and I don't know if they were there, but there are some very, very hard left people, hanger-on types from the university too, who may have shown up.
Uh-huh. Well, what happened in the legislature when you met this last week and without the 14 Democrats that have gone AWOL?
Well, sadly, under our state constitution, we need 20 state senators to pass a bill with appropriations in it, which is what the mini budget is right now. So we were not able to go forward. The 14 Democrats, and something that, as far as I know, is unprecedented in Wisconsin history, certainly unprecedented in the 17 years I've been there, they fled the state.
Right.
They went to Northern Illinois. The thing that surprised me, not only did they go to Northern Illinois, but they were so brazen about it, they were interviewed on television.
It's
I mean,
amazing.
It's just incredible. If I had pulled a stunt like that, I sure wouldn't let people know where I was.
Right.
You know, I mean, I wouldn't brag about it. I'd be embarrassed about it. But when you see these guys on national news, you know, bold as brass, here I am, I'm in Chicago, I'm not coming back, it shows how confident they are that they can get away with this. And hopefully what's going on is they're just spending all their time listening to the teachers union. Hopefully the public as a whole will not stand for this.
It's setting such a horrible precedent. I mean, really, they should be ashamed of themselves. The public is having to cover their salary and really cover their expenses while they're on the road. Isn't that the case?
Well, I don't know if they're covering. I doubt if they're covering their expenses, but it is an embarrassment. And when you elect people, you elect them there to vote. I mean, we're going to be having committees next week on a wide variety of other issues.
Right.
I mean, are the Democrats in the state Senate not going to be present for other bills related to transportation, to education, to economic development? Are they that in a vice grip by the national union leadership that they're just going to abandon their post as they forever try to prevent the legislature from solving this budget crisis?
What role is the DNC playing in all of this?
We don't know yet, but we believe it's out there because when Scott Walker did this, there are a lot of other states with big budget deficits as well. And let's face it, just as when a business has an off year or their sales are down and it affects their employees, whether it was their fault or not, people get laid off, people have to have their 401k contributions cut, what have you. The same thing's happening to the state of Wisconsin. The public employee unions really, I think, dominate the Democratic Party. I mean, it's true that the trial lawyers have a given degree of influence. It's true Planned Parenthood has a given degree of influence in the most extreme race hustlers. We saw Jesse Jackson here in town, and that element is important in the Democratic Party. But I think nothing is important to them as the government unions. And I think the National Democratic Party is scared to death to see the government unions take a defeat in Wisconsin. They will do all they can to protect them. One of the good things Scott Walker is doing here is he's allowing members of government unions not to pay union dues. And of course, I, as all Republican office holders, have heard complaints from people who quietly come up to me, school teachers, what have you, and say, I'm not with the union. I sure wish I didn't have to pay union dues. And now Scott Walker's going to give them that opportunity. But the union relies on forcing people who despise what the union stands for, having that amount taken out of their check every month. I applaud Governor Walker for fighting for freedom and looking out for the minority, which is a lot what this country's about. And I sure hope the labor unions, the extreme labor unions, don't get their way and continue to force people who don't want to pay dues, support them, and the very well-paid leadership in these unions.
Right. Don't you think that Governor Walker has set a precedent for the country? Because this is the tip of the iceberg. We are one state of many that have these budget deficits. And once Wisconsin goes through this process and wins, actually gets the bill passed, we're just starting a process that will just roll across the country. And this is what the DNC is so concerned about, and Obama is so concerned about.
Absolutely. They want this to be the last state that something like this is even tried. And I do think it's a very important thing, though, not only for Wisconsin, but for the nation down the road. I mean, our country right now is existing on borrowed money.
Right.
And we've got to decide whether we're the United States of America, the land of the free, self-reliant people, or whether we're Greece.
Right, and right now we're Greece, right here in Wisconsin.
Well, so far, right. I mean,
yes.
Will the people of Wisconsin be able to say, okay, not everybody can get as big a government check this year as last year? And Governor Walker is going to have to come up with new proposals in the next few weeks in his budget. Again, saying we cannot quite spend as much. And are we going to be like the children you saw in Greece? Adults masquerading as children, I should say, and just say, no, I'm going to throw a temper tantrum here, and I'm going to insist that the government write me checks they don't have? Or are we adults and say, look, just like many other people, things are tough, I'm going to have to make do with a little less for a while?
Well, if they don't give in and take a little bit out of their pocket to pay their pension and health care, then the other thing that would happen was, like, they want to tax the rich. Okay, tax the rich and then lose jobs out of the middle class, because that's what the outcome would be. I mean, you're just going to lose. It's a lose situation if you don't give somewhere. So they complain that they're going to be hurt by this, but actually they're really going to hurt the middle class and the very poor, because it would come out of Medicaid and other issues if they don't give out of their salaries. And they're not losing money. They're putting money of their own into their own pensions and health care. So what is the argument here?
Well, again, it seems kind of childish, but I'd like to address it because I heard it from enough people in town, the protesting type, the last few days. Their attitude seems to be that we can raise taxes on corporations, which is to say business, or the rich. First of all, corporations are everybody, okay?
Right.
Any stockholder, any employee, and the owners of business, and the consumers of business products. You know, you cannot just tax business and think it affects nobody else. Furthermore, national publications, rightfully or wrongfully, have said Wisconsin has a bad business climate. Okay, it really frustrates me when I see government employees saying the problem is we have to worsen Wisconsin's business climate. And they don't realize if you worsen Wisconsin's business climate, in the long run, it's going to result in less tax revenue for everybody, less jobs for other people. The second thing I'd like to address is this idea that we can just tax the rich. What they perhaps are not aware of is we already have a crisis in this state in that the wealthier people are leaving this state. They're going to Texas. They're fleeing to Florida when they retire. Wealthy people are the ones who pay the bulk of the income and property taxes. They're the people who provide the funds for new startup businesses that we need. They're the ones who provide money for charity. And right now, Wisconsin is a position in which the wealthy people are leaving the state and the poor people are coming into the state. What a recipe! What a recipe for a downward spiral forever.
Right.
Nevertheless, the people who teach our children seem to think the way to handle our crisis is to tax the wealthy still more. And we just did have a special income tax increase on the wealthy last year. Tax the rich still more, and apparently think you can tax business and it's not going to affect anybody else. And it's scary to see such economic illiteracy
Right.
from the people who teach our children.
Absolutely. It's incredible that they could be so ridiculously incompetent.
Right.
But I appreciate you being here today, Senator, and enlightening us with all this information on the bill. It has been a pleasure, and we appreciate you today. Senator Grothman, thank you for being here, and thank you for being on Who's Right.